I'm Clifford. Today's show, we're back. We're so back. I feel like I've probably introed an episode like that before, but it doesn't matter. We're back. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Clifford today and you're not, and yada, yada, yada. And we're joined today by Josh here. Josh is here. And a
Yep, I'm
Starbucks.
back. I know, right? It's gotta switch up. Gotta switch it up.
He surprised me like when we started the call. He's like, "Oh, I'm at Starbucks." I'm like, "What?" So this will be a first. I don't. In fact, I don't know of any podcast that has ever been recorded from a Starbucks. So this
Hey,
will
we're
be
making history. Making
yeah.
history.
We're not sponsored by Starbucks, by the way.
Nope. Sorry. Nope.
Yeah, I mean we're not really sponsored by anyone really, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, we missed you, Josh, in the last episode. It seems that you and Nick are kind of trading off in the past couple
Hey.
episodes.
Yeah, we are. Gotta get back on that.
So you said that you were moving yourself.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Like, from a house to apartment. Rent got high.
Oh. Oh,
Yep.
gotcha. Yeah.
Yep.
Rent be renting.
Yep. It'd be renting. Be rent. So
So
yeah.
how was that? Did you have people helping you out?
Yeah, I had my family and my cousins help. So it wasn't too bad. Just didn't realize how much stuff you have when you're in a three-bedroom basement house going to an apartment. And he's like,
Right.
dang, can't take this, can't take that. That was the
Yeah.
hard part, but it was cool.
Yeah, I've been there. Last time I moved, we threw out a bunch of my furniture. Um, Today I had to help out because my sister just got married, and they
Hmm.
bought a new hutch, and so this
Okay.
morning I was helping them move that this morning, and yeah, I've moved a lot in my life, so I
Got
know
it.
what it's like. You kind of become an expert at it.
Oh, yeah.
So, but how's the new place
Yep.
though?
It's
How's
nice. Still got bags everywhere and stuff, but it's cool. Cool.
cool? Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, glad to know that you're doing well. Okay. So yeah, we've got part two of my conversation with John Van Deusen. Um, just a little bit of a recap. I recorded my interview with John Van Deusen at Audiofeed, and it got cut short, so we decided to continue it on through a phone, well, not phone call, but online call. And so that will be today. And also afterwards, we'll be back for my humble opinion, which is our humble opinion, I guess. And I haven't done this before, but I decided I'm going to start doing this just to give people a little bit of preview of what we're going to talk about. I'm going to spoil what we're going to talk about, but we're going to be talking about new music from Jonathan Allen Wright, Chase Tremaine, Sixpence None the Richer, and Starflyer 59. So stick around at the end of the episode to hear our thoughts on that music. But before we get to anything, we got a couple things we got to go to. I almost forgot this in the last episode, but our album of the week, we are joined by Spectral Mornings by Steve Hackett. Steve Hackett was a former guitarist for Genesis, and he's had a solo career. He's still doing stuff, actually, still touring and everything. He's a Spectral Mornings. It's a mostly instrumental album, but he had some other people come on and sing some vocals on them, and it's from 1979, and it's very pretty. It's a very pretty album. I always enjoyed his contribution to the band Genesis. I mean, he left before like Genesis got like commercially big, but he was there during like the prog rock era of Genesis. But yeah, it's pretty good. You probably aren't really familiar with Steve Hackett, are you, Josh?
No, but I did hear a few songs, so I knew off that album. So I
Yeah,
knew what you talking about. So, yeah,
sure. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Not a
I'm
lot of
glad he's
people
still
do.
touring and stuff.
Yeah, and he's a lot of what he does is that he does like Genesis tours where he's like playing Genesis music. So
Okay.
which is cool for a lot of Genesis fans because
Yeah.
Genesis, of course, isn't touring anymore. And
No.
I mean, they had the one reunion tour that I was able to see. But I guess what's different about his tour is that he plays a lot of the old stuff, where like any more recent Genesis reunion tours, they would have to play some old stuff, but mostly their later stuff. So um, a lot of Genesis fans really enjoy going to his shows. One day, maybe I will. But yeah, so Spectral Mornings by Steve Hackett. We've got, oh yeah, so Podwood Forecast. Check out my other podcast that I do, my audio podcast that I do with my friend Mitchell. We're supposed to be getting together soon to be doing a Talking Heads episode. But our last episode, we talked about the original PlayStation Spyro trilogy. So that was a lot of fun. I would definitely recommend you check it out. We're getting very close to 490 subs. We're at 488, and so that's just one step closer to our goal of 500. So be sure that if you're new, that you're subscribing and that you're sharing with friends who might enjoy the show. Let's get to that 500, and then we'll once we get to 500, I'll be sharing my top 10 favorite albums of all time, and I will not be sharing it otherwise. So, so that's your incentive. I'm sure everyone's going to be excited for that. um, Also, one other thing that I wanted to plug and make sure that you guys knew about. So, Jesus Freak Hideout has recently released their latest annual compilation album. It is songs we've been trying to tell you about and others we haven't, volume 13. And I mean, I'm especially excited about this because I'm actually on it. Sherwood Forest, um, my song Disentangle was included in the compilation. So very honored that they would um, have me on there, especially with like so many other great songs on there. So and it's free. It's a free download. You can go to Jesus Freak Hideout's website, and it's a direct download. And I'm not sure if it's out yet, but there's also supposed to be a playlist version, like on Spotify or something. So if you're a Spotify listener, would rather listen to that, you can check that out when it's out. Uh, but yeah, was very flattered and honored. And they, Evan Dickens on the JFH podcast talked very briefly about my song because they were sharing their favorite songs from the compilation. And Evan had some very nice things to say about it. So shout out to Evan. So, yeah, that's, I think that's what we got. So, oh, wait, no. Housekeeping. We've got one comment uh, to read from the last episode. Um, so I'll share a bit of a bit of context about this comment. But Jive Tab, aka Chase Tremaine, left a comment saying, "You can blame me for the Reliant K Skittles." So, so if you missed the last episode, me and Nick were doing a little segment um, talking about these fake Christian YouTube channels that were commenting on videos and such. I would recommend it. It was a lot of fun, but I had to share my screen with him, and when I got onto YouTube and it showed like all my past searches on YouTube, one of the suggestions was Reliant K Skittles, and the context to that is that I'm in this music league with Chase Tremaine and a bunch of the other guys from JFH and a bunch of other people. This music league where we go through these different rounds. We submit songs based off of these prompts, and we all listen to the songs and we vote on our favorite ones for each round. And we're all part of like this Facebook chat. And we were talking about this song by Reliant K, Skittles and Combos, which is from their Anatomy album. Oh, I'm blanking out on the name of it. What is it? It's I did this in the last episode, Reliant K, because I keep wanting to say Anatomy of a Fall, Anatomy of Tongue in Cheek. Okay, that's what. Yeah. And Skittles and Combos is a hidden track on the album, and it's just this quirky little song, but they ended up taking it off the Spotify version, or at least the streaming version, for some reason. So that's why I was looking it up to see if it was on YouTube. And so, and I'm pretty sure it was Chase who brought it up in the conversation. So that's why he was saying that it was his fault. So, long story. Are you familiar with that song at all?
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry to say that we had some technical difficulties during recording and somehow lost the rest of Josh's video, even though Clifford didn't know until afterwards. Thus, I will be taking Josh's place for the rest of this segment of the episode. No, Clifford. I don't think I'm familiar with the song Skittles and Combos by Reliant K.
Yeah, not much of a Reliant K guy.
No, I am. I just don't remember this song.
Yeah, because it's a hidden track and, it's not on the streaming version, so it's not surprising if anyone wouldn't know about it. Someone suggested that they took it off because they were getting tired of fans bringing Skittles and Combos up to them after shows. So, I don't know.
But who would ever get tired of receiving Skittles and Combos? That's just bananas.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently, I think there was a story that they didn't even know what combos were. So now they know. So maybe they just discovered they didn't like combos, which I don't understand that. I don't know who doesn't like combos, and Skittles are great too. So maybe they just had too many. They just like had a whole store of, yeah. Yeah, well, they've only themselves to blame then. So, but yeah, that's the whole long story behind that. So, yeah, if you guys feel free to leave a comment on the episode today, and we'll most likely read it in the next episode, because we just love it when people are talking about us. So, so we'll reward you for that. All right, so without further ado, then we'll get into the John Van Deusen episode again. Thanks to John for doing this twice with me. This was a very the last episode, it was a shorter conversation, but we got a little bit more in depth with this one, and a lot of good stuff. And John actually shares his favorite Christian albums of all time, I'm guessing. Well, at least the ones that he thought of at the time. Yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed these past couple episodes and all these interviews. We'll be taking a break from interviews for at least one episode. Yeah, much excitement.
Into evolution, you are not yourself, nor anybody else. Where did you go? You are not like them, and your social sucking friends. Where did you go? Where did
Happy
Um,
Sunday.
yeah, yeah. Happy Sunday. Did you go to church today?
I mean, I work at a church, so yes,
Yeah,
I worked
yeah,
I worked today, and so yes, I did go to church. How about you?
yeah, yeah. I went to church. I used to work at a church, no longer. But yes, I did go to church. I'll tell you, it is weird when you're because I was on staff at a church for a little while, and then when you get out of that and you're just a regular attendee, you're just like, oh wow, like no one's really depending on me to be at church. I actually have to make myself go to church today.
Yeah,
And that actually was a bit of a struggle, but
I get
I
that.
I adjusted. So, yeah, thanks so much for doing this, man. Like, totally. I mean, much appreciated, but unnecessary. Like, you could have been like, "Hey, you know what? We got like 30 minutes of a conversation at Audiofeed. That's all I got." But you actually volunteered to be like, "Hey, let's get together again." And I mean, well, via the internet and do this again. So I really appreciate you wanting to do that.
Yeah, of course. I thought it was cool you wanted to chat about music, so
Absolutely.
um, I think the conversation at Audio Feed, it was kind of a chaotic moment. So this is
It
better now.
was.
This is like the opposite of chaotic at least in my experience. So here I am. I'll probably take a nap as soon as we're
Yeah.
done here. I'm just gonna go to sleep. So this
Dude,
is
yeah.
perfect.
Just make sure that it's after our conversation. And, just, I mean, hey, if you do that, then that's totally okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what's up?
Yeah, so I wanted to, I mean, there's a lot that I wanted to get to, like, ever since our last conversation. And I do apologize for all the chaoticness, of that. With my technical
You're fine.
difficulties I was having. We shouldn't have any today. And there were some things you had your show that night at Audio Feed, and I wanted to talk about that, and I wanted to talk about something that I felt like that we were getting to in our last conversation. There's so much, so I'll do my best, but I will say that your show at Audio Feed was great. It was a lot of fun. Like I had said, it was my first time seeing you like with a band, because I had seen you before doing the solo gig and on the audio feed the year before. And there's something that you mentioned, which, by the way, the gig also, your set that night also did have a sort of sense of chaoticness with all the issues that the stage was having, because I think you ended up playing like a half hour or an hour later than what you were supposed to, just because of all the technical difficulties the stage was going through. And you ended up I believe shortening your set a little bit, and then you said that you ended up doing an acoustic set just outside of where the stage was. And I got to say that made it a very memorable experience. Like, I think you did a great job at like taking a very hectic situation, but flipping it and making it a positive experience for everyone. And
Thank you.
so yeah, it was a lot of fun. So we all just kind of went outside and just sat in the middle of the night and just listened to you jam on Kevin Schlurith's acoustic guitar. I think, was it Kevin's? I'm pretty sure Kevin let you borrow his. Yeah,
it was Kevin's.
Yeah, which I actually ended up borrowing it too for an impromptu set. So
nice.
We shared a guitar. There was something that you said, though, that you talked about that night, where you talked about how for a while you kind of had fallen out of love with like touring and live shows for a little while. But you mentioned that you had kind of started to get that back, sorta. So I'd love to hear you, expand on that and just talk about like what that's looked like for you recently.
Wow. Yeah. Um, well, first of all, thanks for, saying nice things about the show. And
Of course.
it was chaotic, and it was our set was cut from like 45 to like 25, like 15
Really?
minutes before we played. We had to like it was just one of those things, and I
Mm,
was trying to be really polite about it. I was like, guys, I flew people out here to play music, and people have literally flown to see me play.
mm,
And so it was one of those moments professionally where what I wanted to be gracious, and I tried.
mm-hmm.
But there was also this sense of like, why am I the one? Why wouldn't the artists before me have been asked to cut their times? But I think in the end it
Yeah.
worked out because, like you said, it was more memorable to like play 25 minutes of loud music and then just say, okay, I guess I'm going outside to play some acoustic songs and have people follow me outside. And I learned a long time ago that it's actually way better to have a memorable show than a good show.
Yeah.
It's, you want people to remember it because that's usually what indicates whether or not they'll talk about it later on. Like they'll remember it and they'll tell the story. And so, and I felt super loved and honored when everybody came out and I got to play songs for them. And
Hmm.
I toured a lot in my 20s and have toured a bit in my 30s. And I think I don't really like being looked at, and which is interesting because I have a job, multiple jobs, like whether I'm performing or leading worship at church, I'm in front of people, and
Hmm.
I just don't love being the center of attention. And there was a long time where I would perform, and my favorite, I think I might have said this at the show, but my favorite part of every show was the last song because I knew I was about to be done and I could go and have some alone time and not really feel the pressure of being looked at and trying to like I didn't have that pressure anymore of sustaining people's attention. And so it just kind of became this thing that I knew people enjoyed it when I did it, but I personally always felt kind of stressed out and tired and peopled out really easily. And I think though that as I've begun to share more honestly about my faith, and some of my music, more and more of my music reflects my faith, and the crowds that I draw are different because of that. My audience is changing, and I really like where I'm at now, where I feel like I can blend the songs about my faith and about just my experience, like kind of a more holistic, well-rounded group of songs. I can present them and I can tell the story of where the songs came from, and I can speak honestly about my faith, and the crowd is really receptive. And I actually think it's also really encouraging and life-giving for some people who watch it. And I think that kind of it's like helped me find my purpose in performing again. And I love singing a song like All Shall Be Well and hearing people sing it, and then having people come up to me afterwards and say, I sing that to my kids every night when they go to bed. Like I really feel so honored to be able to make music that people connect with. And I just think as I've gotten older, I've enjoyed more and more just that exchange, and I feel more comfortable with who I am, and more at peace with what I'm doing. And I feel like what I do now maybe is more fruitful than more fruitful than maybe what I used to do. And so all of that kind of combines to just feeling this sense of, yeah, I do want to play. And I like to share about what God has done in my life. And I like to present my music and my songs in my own way because it feels, I don't know how to say it, but have you ever done anything in your life where you feel like there's a synchronicity of all the pieces of who you are, and you're just like presenting something really sincerely and naturally? It's like, this is just who I am, and I'm not trying to be something I'm not. and I call it the sweet spot.
Right.
That's how it feels. Like when I perform now, it's just kind of a sweet spot. It's like, no, and
Yeah.
so, so yeah, that's probably the best way for me to describe it. I want to play more shows. I want to play houses and churches, especially. I love playing houses and churches because people are really attentive and they want to connect. I've just found there's a very intentional, thoughtful type of show goer that shows up to a house show or a church to hear music. And I love that. I really love that type of connection. You know, I grew up playing clubs to either like 200 people or 3,000 people, where a lot were drinking, and that can be fun too, but it's just a different type of exchange. It's a different connection.
Right. Yeah, I totally resonate with that as someone who's also you know, a musician, and I've played my fair share of like local shows and such. I always loved it, but there were definitely nights that I hated, and it was usually those nights where like what you were talking about, that like sort of like connection with the audience. If there was like nothing there, then it's like, oh, that was the worst night ever. Like I remember particularly one show, just like it was like at this bar, and like hardly anyone showed up, and it's mostly just people in the back just kind of watching. And that was like my worst nightmare, because a lot of my favorite shows were like when people were like up in front and just kind of like rocking out with you, and it's like, oh yeah, that we're like in sync right now and we're just having this experience. But like the worst thing ever is like when it feels like that there are people just like watching you and examining you. It's like, no, this is not what I want. Because like I totally get you. It's like I'm also uncomfortable with people watching me, but when it feels like that we have this connection and that we know what's going on, it's like, okay, this is fine. You know, I'm fine with like putting on with this performance as long as we're like on the same page about stuff. But it gets incredibly uncomfortable when people are just watching, you know, and just examining. It was like, no, this is not what I want. So I definitely resonate with that. And so that's interesting why do you think that that's happened? Like, just because, like you mentioned, it seemed like it was because that you've become more upfront about your faith, that all of a sudden that change has just happened. Like, why do you think that?
That's a good question. I mean, I think I make a type of music and I write a type of song that tends to attract people who are thoughtful and are thinking a lot, like people who are in their head and who are thinking about the world and asking themselves harder questions. And, you know, like, it's just my style and similar to a lot of other artists, but just that kind of, we're going to sing about hard stuff. We're going to talk about hard stuff. We're going to, even if the language is poetical, we're going to like maybe cross into zones that some people find raw and uncomfortable. And so that it just tends to draw a certain type of person. And I think faith and faith adjacent listeners, they're sensitive to the world, and they're looking for meaning, and you know what I mean? Like they're looking to connect with something on a heart level and a mental level. You know, I'm not the musical equivalent of a Marvel movie, or you know what I'm saying? Like, where that can be fun. Like, I can think of artists that I would say are kind of that, and that's great. But that belongs in a big room, in a club or an arena,
right?
Or at a party. And I'm just not that anymore. And so I'm much more of a like sit down. That's why I like the Q&A format a lot. That's why I often ask my audiences if they have any questions, and I think people who see me play now are beginning to expect that, and so they come with good questions to ask. And I like the conversation. I like the ability to tell stories and to let people in to the spaces within myself that are raw. And so houses and churches, quiet venues, they just facilitate that type of environment better. And it just doesn't work well in a place where there's people buying drinks.
Right.
I'm in a band called Telephone Friends. We talked about it, Audiofeed. Telephone Friends is the opposite. Telephone Friends works well in a high energy, fun environment. We work well in a place that's selling drinks because it's kind of this fun, funny, intense experience. And so I've definitely played in bands that work in those settings, but yeah, thoughtful crowds.
Sure, yeah. And there's a time and place for everything. And not even to say that, like, Telephone Friends doesn't have, like, with the album that you guys released, like, there was a couple songs in there that I felt had a sort of, like, deepness to them, you know?
Sure.
Which is something that I really enjoyed, how you could go from BMW Dad to, I can't remember the name of the song. I should know because I used it in a video, but I'm blanking out on it. But
there's Yes, Maybe No is a good one, and
yeah, that's a great one.
Nostradamus and There and Then. I mean, there's a few that are a little bit more thoughtful in their lyrical content and their presentation.
Yeah, so a good variety, and that's what I always love in an album, anyways. But no, yeah, it's I think there's both for like music and movies. I think you make a great point how there's a time and place for like comfort, you know, your comfort movies or just music to just vibe with. But we definitely, I mean, I think art is should definitely be used to, I guess, push us and make us, make us think about things. And we definitely talked in our last conversation about like pushing people to be uncomfortable maybe with certain subjects.
Dissonance.
And what's that?
Dissonance. I think we talked about dissonance, like helping people see that dissonance is okay, and you don't have to have it all figured out.
Right.
So,
yeah.
This time on the Podwood Forecast.
He does.
If you can't catch a red, never gonna ride it. Can't push me out of fighting.
Cough core.
Never gonna give it up, no.
All right, next question. How old then in limit cut? What the?
4.
No, that is not an option.
Anyways, I was at lunch and I have like a very strong memory of legitimately getting in a fight with another kid. Not like a physical fight. We were like sitting, just like arguing over
Flying
who was
fists.
like a bigger Spyro fan. And one of my reasons for being the bigger Spyro fan was I told him, well, purple's my favorite color. And he was like, oh man, he's like, dang it, red is my favorite color. Shoot. And I was lying. Green was my favorite color, but I lived the lie of purple being my favorite color, and it is now
the truth come out on this podcast.
As a kid, it's my favorite color now. Darkness imprisoning me all around me.
Oh, I see absolute horror.
See, I don't know, for some
Listen
reason.
to the Podwood Forecast wherever podcasts are found.
Guys, I just got done with a video call interview for the show, and I have to say that it was like the smoothest experience ever. Didn't have any issues or anything, and the video came out almost perfect. And do you know why? It's because I used Riverside, Riverside is your online recording studio where you can record a conversation with any guest online. You can easily record podcasts and videos in studio quality from anywhere, all from your browser or their mobile app. All you have to do is get your setup ready, send your guests a link for them to join, have them join from their phone or their computer, and just chat away. A lot of podcasts that you listen to are probably using Riverside, honestly. What sets Riverside apart is that a recording of your audio and your video is happening locally on your computer. So even if your connection isn't that good, it doesn't ruin the entire recording or anything. Once you've finished recording, you will get the individual tracks of each speaker and also a combined one. You'll receive all the raw files, including that Pepsi crystal clear uncompressed audio and up to 4K video. There's also lots of really cool features where you can edit your video right in their site. So, you're a YouTuber, a podcaster, or streamer, or a content creator of any kind, and you want to have high quality conversations with your guests, please use my link in the description and sign up for Riverside. If you want to support me in the channel, please use my link since I end up getting a cut from the sales. I'm not joking. Please support me. Sign up for Riverside and start recording today.
Hey you, are you a Christian artist, musical artist, or a musical artist who is a Christian? Well, you got music, that you made, you got music that you're trying to get out there. Do you want it to be on my show? Well, it can be, and here's how. You go to the link in the description, submit a form, fill that all out, send me your music, and we'll get the song of your choice on this segment, the Spotlight segment, and the whole world will hear your music, and it's gonna be great. And I'm out of breath for some reason. Be a Spotlight artist today, maybe not today, in the next episode, but it's gonna be fun. It's completely free. All I ask is that you promote the show, promote the episode that your song is on, and that's it. That's all I ask. But I want to support you. I want to support other Christian artists and get your stuff out there. So, yeah, let's do it, baby. Spotlight artist, become one. Be it. Yeah, that's the ad. And something else that I wanted to get to that I felt like that we were getting to at the end of our conversation last time, which, got interrupted, and that's totally okay. But I wanted to talk more about, the like the faith aspect in your life. We kind of started talking about how the podcast episode that you did with Tyson on the You Have Permission to Speak podcast, which I had never really... I knew that Dan Koch did that podcast. I never really listened to it personally, but then I saw that you guys were on it. I'm like, oh, I'm definitely checking this one out. So, yeah. Because that's a special kind of episode that he does every once in a while, where he invites people on that still, profess to be Christians, and basically just having that conversation as to why you still believe that. And it was it's been a while since I've listened to it, but I remember it being very encouraging to me because, well, it's always encouraging for me to be able to talk to musicians who profess to be Christian that I've looked up to for a while, and then
being able to say that they still hold on to that faith, especially in a day and age where there's so many stories about, people in our generation leaving the faith, especially a lot of
Mhm.
musicians. I've known a lot of musicians that I looked up to, and now they're not professing to be Christians, or they're at least following some form of Christianity that, to me doesn't really resemble any form of orthodoxy.
Mhm.
So I wanted to ask you, I guess basically to, talk again what you talked about on that episode as to why your faith is still like important to you, and like what has kept that grounded in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, I love answering that question. Um,
Good.
my thesis is always wrapped up in because it has worked. Christianity has delivered it has delivered on its promises to me. Christ has delivered on his promises to me. I have experienced change, like from the inside out, and it has brought freedom and stability to my life. And I have a lot of things I'm obviously still in need of. I'm in need of Christ to change still to this day, but and that's what keeps me going. Is it has worked, and
Mm-hmm.
that I know that answer makes some people nervous. Like, it has worked for me, and that's why I'm still a Christian. But it's just the truth. Like, my experience,
Sure.
experientially, it has worked for me. That is the biggest reason I still believe. I mean, I have routine, regular spiritual experience that helps that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those two realities sustain me, and that's why I'll be telling and do tell my children, the most important thing that mom and dad want you to know is that we believe God is real and God loves you, and that through Jesus, like Jesus is the doorway into a right and healed relationship with your maker, and nothing is more important than you taking steps towards him. And we're not probably going to, create a legalistic environment for them, but I think I really do believe that. I believe in the teachings of the Sermon on the Mount. I believe the Bible is extremely powerful and has the ability to communicate to us like who God is, and I think the Word is alive. And I mean, all of it. I just, there's a lot of things I don't. I think I talked about this on the podcast, but one of the things that's helped me is an ability to just stop and say, I don't feel a strong need to know everything, and there are certain areas of even Christian doctrine that I have yet to kind of determine what I believe, but I have this prayer that's essentially like, Lord Jesus, like if you want me to come to a more specific understanding of hell, this is a perfect example. I'm trusting you to help me get there, and I'm not terribly worried about it in the moment, and I believe that what God has for us after death is good and is just, and if we could all just snap our fingers and see how it's going to play out, we would look at each other and go, oh, it makes sense. And so I just have an ability to stop there, and I don't feel some desperate need to answer it all. But Dan Koch, a friend of mine, he's kind of different. Dan is a philosopher and a student of science and neuroscience, and he kind of needs, super smart. He really needs to dig in and mine all of this for its meaning and its truth, and I get that. But I'm just a little different, and it's funny. I never wanted to be a Christian artist. We might have already talked about this in Illinois, but though I am a Christian, a professing Christian, work at a church. I write for a Christian publishing company. I mean, it is the foundation of my worldview.
Mm-hmm.
It's still hard for me to like admit that I'm going to be a Christian artist. And that comes down to me feeling somewhat out of place within Christian culture. We might have even talked about that as well. And so it is an interesting place to find myself. You know, working on a worship record right now and realizing that once my next record comes out on November 1st, by the way, that's probably the last, like non-Christian, you know, just indie rock, loud rock and roll record I'm going to make for a while, because I'm
really? Okay.
entering into a time where my focus is going to be releasing some worship music and some hymns and things. And
cool.
Because that's just where I'm at. That's the season of life I'm in. And
yeah.
So yes, I still believe, and maybe to my chagrin a little bit, and now just a Christian artist. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I was telling someone that the other day. Like, I used to play with secular artists all the time, more often, and in fact had released, and probably to this day has still released more secular music than Christian. But as I become open about my faith, those artists and the type of people I used to play with, they don't really want to share the stage with me, and that kind of makes sense, because it's a weird thing for a secular artist to share the stage with like an openly Christian artist. And
sure.
So I just find myself playing with Christian artists because they're the ones who will play with me. And then it's the same with like rock clubs. Like, there's a lot of rock clubs out there that don't really want a Christian artist playing, and so I find myself at a house or a church because they want me there and they're excited. And that's the self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like, well, just is who I am now, and I have to kind of come to terms with that. But
I mean, yeah, it's kind of the way things are. Oddly, it's like Christian music really shouldn't be a genre, but it kind of has been turned into one. And you know, my philosophy is that you, like, if you are a professing Christian, then like whatever you release, I guess, is like, whether it have a strong Christian message or not, you know, it's music that came from a Christian, and so that's what it is. And so I don't know, I get that too. I've found that, you know, you're talking about how you're, you know, just having a heart for making more like hymns and worship type music. I do find that the closer, whenever I'm in a season where I'm feeling that I'm really getting closer to God, I'm writing more about him and more about that relationship with him. And not to say that the other music that I wrote wasn't in some form worship to God, because it's me being creative and trying to put my all into that music. But yeah, like when I'm just in that particular season, I'm writing more about it. So yeah, I guess I would argue, I don't know, I wouldn't consider like any of your old music like secular, you know. It's just, you know, you being honest as a Christian about all the aspects of your life, I guess. So
yeah, I mean, we could talk about that for a long time, and it is an interesting thing to try to define Christian music. I mean, the band I used to play in, I was a Christian for part of that time, but we sang a lot. We sang about a lot of things and used a lot of language that 99% of the world would say disqualified us from being Christian. And even my first solo record, you know, has some language that I think is, and actually the record I am about to release, that I think a lot of people would hear and go, yeah, no, this isn't Christian music. But I know what you're saying.
yeah,
it's weird to think about all the music, art, films made by Christians, video games, whatever, and that don't actually talk about the gospel or mention God or spiritual anything. Does that make it religious or Christian art? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird trying to define it, I guess. But, you know, yeah, don't really have the answers to that. But, yeah, I
That's
don't
why
know.
it's a fun. That's why I think it's a fun thing to talk about.
Yeah, it is. And I remember there's an old quote from John Foreman, who I'm sure you know, um, basically said something along the lines of like, you know, music doesn't have a soul, so it can't get saved. So how can we really call it Christian music? You know,
Yeah.
and he said something along the lines of like, you know, when it like say like a Christian plumber, which everyone always uses a plumber in this analogy for some reason, but you know, it's like just because a Christian plumber is doing his work, that doesn't make it like any less
Christian work.
important than like a Christian artist making music. You know, it's all to glorify God. I'm sure I butchered that quote, but it was something along those lines, you know. But you get what I'm saying, you
Mhm.
know. Yeah. So it's but I love it though. I love that in betweenness of, because you know you've got your strictly like mainstream, like very Christian music, and you've got your secular music, and I love this space in between where it's like, I don't know. It's like, this
Mhm.
John Van Deusen, I don't know. He talks about God sometimes, and sometimes he doesn't. Any of these other artists, it's weird, but I kind of love it, you know. And that's usually kind of the music that I tend to listen to,
Yeah.
anyways. So,
I, it's interesting you say that, and I think I've found there are types of people that are just comfortable being around pretty much anything that's different from them,
mm,
and I like being around those people. And so I have friends and peers who make music and who are artists who are not Christians in any way, and probably
mm-hmm,
have some strong feelings about it all in general,
sure,
who don't feel weirded out by me singing about Jesus, and
mm-hmm,
they're not um, gonna go and like hide when I perform because they're comfortable with who they are. And I found it's the people who are really wrapped up in what others think of them.
mm,
Those are the ones that seem to be really uncomfortable. Like if I saw a band play and I realized like, oh, this band practices the faith, they're whatever, they're Muslim and their
mm-hmm,
music reflects Islam's, the tenets of Islam, I wouldn't like run away. In fact, I'd probably find it interesting and intriguing and be like, wow, this is kind of cool. I want to hear more of that. And I think I do grow a little weary and tired of those who are just so caught up in what the world perceives, how the world perceives them. And I'll see
mm-hmm,
this online where like it doesn't matter. We don't need to get into it, but that whole idea of like being associated with certain types of people, I
mm-hmm,
just love the people who are not worried about it. And
yeah,
um, I'm really thankful for some of the friends and peers I still have who are just it doesn't bother them. So
yeah,
non-Christians is what I mean, not Christians. So
sure, yeah. There's as I guess as someone who's, I'm very strongly opinionated about stuff, and I can tend to, turn people off, which I have. I've I guess in this day and age, people just want to cut off friendships just because they don't align in a certain way. It makes me a lot more grateful for the people who have stuck around in my life and who don't, align with me in everything. There's just something about that makes the bond seem stronger. It's like, hey, we may like disagree on a lot of things, but at least we know each other as people, and
Mhm.
so we know that we're okay with that. And, not to say, because I have plenty of friends who do align with a lot of the things that I do, and those relationships are definitely impactful and encouraging. But yeah, I do have a handful of friends who are, like you said, those kind of outliers who just don't care,
Yeah.
because we're humans, and so that's fine,
Yeah. They don't feel threatened by you. That's what I
Right.
appreciate. Like, it's like, oh, they're not threatened by my beliefs, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe it helps that I'm not like telling them they're wrong and going to hell.
Yeah, that'll turn some people off for sure.
Yeah. Well, I've been around. Like most of my friends weren't Christians for so long that I just kind of learned how to maybe interact, and it's just no, it doesn't. Anyways, moving on.
Sure. Yeah. So, moving on. So you did tease that you're working on your new album, and you also did mention before, not on our recorded conversation, but you mentioned, I think it was over the phone. You mentioned that you had a couple announcements, and so
Yeah.
are you ready to share that news with the world now?
Sure. I mean, I recorded a record years ago called Anthem Sprinter. It was
Mhm.
originally called Puck, and I wasn't sure when it would come out, but it was licensed by Tooth and Nail Records.
Mm.
And the songs are so old, and the sound is so who I used to be, even just the way the
Mhm.
record sounds, that I thought for a long time, I'll just shelve it. I don't need to release this.
Mm.
And through a lot of talking and thinking and praying, I decided, you know what, I can release it. It's kind of like a prequel to all of my other
Mhm.
solo music because the songs are so old.
Right.
And like one of the choruses I wrote when I was 14, and I'm almost 37. So,
That means it's a good song if it stuck around that long,
I mean,
in your
maybe,
head at
but
least.
a lot of the ideas have been around a long time. Some of them were demos I recorded, hoping that my old band, The Lonely Forest, would play them, and the guys didn't like it or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
so just kind of you put it on the shelf and you wait. Anyway, so this record was sitting around. We recorded it at the same time as A Catacomb Hymn.
Mm.
So when we recorded A Catacomb Hymn, we were in Texas. It was just Braden and I, and then Andy Park and Sam Rawson were the producer and engineer. And we recorded something like 23 songs in 6 days. And so A Catacomb Hymn is like the first half, and Anthem Sprinter is the second half.
Okay.
And Anthem Sprinter definitely got they're just heavier, sadder, angrier songs. Just even the B-sides that no one will ever hear, they're just heavier and angrier and more chaotic. And
Nice.
they represent a time in my life where I was very sad and detached and struggling, and often felt like kind of the antagonist in my own story. And so maybe that's why I wanted to shelve it, because it just feels like that's who I used to be. It's not who I am anymore. But now I am releasing it and leaving some songs off that just were way too much of a bummer for me. And it's coming out November 1st on Tooth and Nail Records, and I have singles coming out soon, like weeks. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, so I'm excited about it. I think it'll be good for me to just get it out and let it exist, because I know that others will connect with it. Like, not everybody is wanting me to release just worship music, and it's kind of a breakup record. Like, there's a good number of songs about just relationships dissolving and feeling isolated from other people. And I know that that's something a lot of people go through all the time. And so that's probably why I decided I can release this. I can put it out into the world, and those who will connect with it will connect with it. And so that's exciting for me, because once it's out, I can kind of move forward with the record I've been working on for the last 8 months, which is a huge monster of a alternative worship record. And yeah, I'm excited to move on. And yeah, the first single is called Comeback Record, and I just think it's so much fun. It sounds like, to me, it sounds like if Sunny Day Real Estate and Sonic Youth and Face to Face and Foo Fighters had a weird alt rock baby. So
I mean, that sold me for sure.
yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, I'm excited about it. That's pretty much the announcement. There are other things happening that I can't talk about yet, but I'll
Okay.
be able to that I'll be able to announce soon. And
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, because there were some other things that you mentioned, but if you're not talking about that now, then
not
we'll
yet.
just
I
wait.
think. I mean, I need to figure out like record label home, like who I am partnering with in the future, and
Mhm.
that's the process I'm in right now, and
Right.
trying to make the best decision for my family, and also determine like how much music should I be playing, like how many shows should I be playing, and I get the feeling that it's more. Like, if I could be really candid with you, one of the last shows I played, I just looked out and like a good portion of these people were just crying while I played. And I realized
Wow.
that it's like something is happening where it's breaking something in people, and there's just a raw emotion happening, especially when I play by myself acoustic, and it feels good. It feels like the picture I have in my mind is like when you've got like a field of soil and the soil is frozen, and because it's frozen, it's this hard soil that it can't accept any seed because it's so hard. It feels like when I play, I imagine like hard soil getting like churned and broken up. I don't know how else to say it, and I'm not trying to like over spiritualize what I do personally. I'm just saying that's the vibe I get. It's like it feels like people are kind of broken open just a little, and that feels good for me. It feels like I'm actually like doing what I was made to do. I don't know how else to say it. It's like, no, I feel like in a weird way I was made to sing the occasional song that breaks people open. I don't know.
I mean,
weird? I mean, it's weird to say about myself, but I'm just saying that's
I mean, just as just speaking as a fan, there's a whole lot that I appreciate about your music, and I can totally see that having a huge impact on people of our generation, younger generation, whatever. I can see that like just really resonating with them. We live in such strange times these days, and I can totally see like how your music can be important to the people of our generation, because people are just wanting a voice, and I'm not trying to like fill your head up or anything, but I mean, like God has used like so many people, like we've talked about Keith Green before. Keith Green, he was such a humble guy, but he was always obedient to, just judging after, like, because I read his biography that his wife wrote a while ago, and he just seemed to be like so obedient to what it seemed that the Spirit was telling him, and what he needed to do. Like, he cared so much about that, and I think through that obedience, God was able to do just like wonders through his ministry. And it's still crazy to think that he died at like age 28 and I'm 30, and it's like, what the heck am I doing? It's just crazy. Like, it's crazy the legacy that he left after such a short time. And so I don't know, sorry, I started talking about Keith Green for some reason, but I think that
that's fine. It's good.
I think that you can use that just like as a as an example, like if it really feels like the Spirit's leading you in some direction, just go and, ride that wave, whatever it seems to be, and see what happens. So to me, you don't seem crazy at all. So
That's funny because most of the people who know me think I'm just a little crazy, and that's not an
okay,
that's
maybe you
not
are a little
an
crazy,
exaggeration. I get that John's a little crazy. That's okay.
but it's the good kind of crazy.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it's
Thank
the good
you.
kind of crazy that we all need every once in a while. So, but that's super cool to hear, and I'm excited to see what God does with that, and how things look for you in the future. I think that just talking about like live shows and such, I don't know if it's just me, but it seems that there seem to be like less, at least for the past couple of years, and it's probably because of COVID and such, and our economic climate and such. But there just seem to be like less shows, like at least in my area, like less shows to be excited about. And like whenever I would see a favorite artist like post a tour, like announce a tour, like the list just seems shorter than what they typically are. And so I hope that we get to a point where people are doing more shows, and so if John Van Deusen is all of a sudden feeling inspired to do more shows, then I fully endorse that for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So when's do you have a date for the first single
Yeah, I have to check it.
that you're willing to share?
Sure. 1 second.
Because I'd like to see because this particular episode will be coming out like 2 weeks from tomorrow. So I'd be curious.
August 29th is the first single.
Oh, okay. So when this comes out, it'll be coming out that Thursday. So
yeah,
awesome.
Check it out. Loud, fast song.
And what was it called again? What was this first single called?
Comeback Wrecker.
Right. Awesome. I'm excited, man.
Thanks.
And so, yeah, if you guys are watching this right now, and be on the lookout on Thursday, and I'm sure it'll rock your face off for sure.
I hope so. It makes me I want to talk about, you had mentioned what you've been asking people about, the records, the top 5. Can we do that?
Yeah,
I only have about 10 or 15 minutes before I'm going to have to check out.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Unless there's something else important that you really want to talk about, we can do that.
No, I was basically, well, you know what? I was going to mention the fact that I forgot that you recently did an album with Jeff Johnson, which was crazy to me because I used to listen to Jeff Johnson and Brian Dunning because for some reason I have an affinity for folk music. And when I saw that was released, I was like, that was not 2 names that I expected to see together.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
we can talk about that.
I mean, for at least for just like a second, because I do want to talk about the your top 5 if you have time. I mean, I'll leave it up to you, but
yeah. Well, Jeff is a friend of mine. He lives here in the Northwest, not too far from me, and we met years ago. And I was visiting him once at his house, and we were talking about our love of ambient and new age music, and just kind of had this, why don't we like make some ambient new age music together? He's like, okay. And it was really just this low-key project where he would do a song and send it to me, and then I'd record a response, and we just did that a few times, and he helped it happen he really incentivized me and prodded me, like, let's keep going, let's do it.
Yeah.
So, and it was fun. I mean, if I had a lot of resources and could make music all the time instead of like working jobs and all the things, I would probably make more ambient, like new age noise music. I love making instrumental music like that.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, it was fun. I really love Jeff, and it was kind of cool to make music with someone who's, he's of a different generation, and
Yeah.
he's like OG. He's been releasing records since the 80s, and he also makes just very different music than me.
Yeah.
And I found
Hence
just the
why I
idea of
just
the
did not
collaboration
expect that
interesting.
collaboration. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it kind of meets
That
one of my goals as an artist is to leave a body of work that's just interesting.
mm-hmm.
Like after I'm dead someday, I hope people find it and they're like digging through the things I've made, and they're just like, "Oh, this is interesting. I didn't expect this." And I don't know. I want it to feel like there's a wide spectrum of style, and so, anyways,
No, yeah.
really enjoyed
I
doing
like it. Yeah, no, that was
Thanks.
a lot of fun, and it was great to listen to. I will say, because like I saw it on like my Spotify weekly playlist, and I had to make sure that it was the Jeff Johnson that I knew, and that it was the John Van Deusen that I knew. I was like, this isn't like one of those situations where an artist has the same name on Spotify and it accidentally gets uploaded to their profile. I had to make sure, and then like I saw you posting about it on social media. I'm like, yeah, this is it. So very cool. Okay,
Thanks.
so we can do a fast round on this. This is something that I try to do with every guest, where you share your top 5, or at least 5 favorites Christian albums. And like I said, the definition of Christian is pretty loose for me. I mean, we've talked about how weird the Christian music term is, so I just leave that up to interpretation for everyone. So if you want to go ahead and share those, and just like just a short snippet as to what you love about the album and why you love it, then yeah. So go ahead.
Do you have them in front of you?
I'd have to pull up.
You don't have to.
Yeah, just go ahead. Just go ahead and share them.
Yeah, I'll just pull up the thread where I sent you all those screenshots, and I can just go through each one.
Sure.
So Dogwood's Building a Better Me.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
I am not familiar with that album.
Love this record so much. I want it on vinyl pretty badly.
Yeah.
Dogwood was a tooth and nail band. I think maybe Solid State, maybe both. Dogwood was kind of in that era of tooth music where you had like MXPX and Slick Shoes, and that there was a lot of like really fast like skate punk, the kind of Southern California like that really fast drumming, and I was really into that style. I still do like that style a lot. Building a Better Me is just full of really good songs. The chord structures are unique. The melodic choices are really good, especially for like a pop punk or a skate punk record. I just think it has the songwriting has a style that's just unusual for that format. And I love the lead singer's voice. It sounds like his throat is bleeding. Like he's just got this like really damaged voice, and there's a lot of emotion to it. I love the lyrics. It's just a solid record. I think it's kind of one of those like long lost punk records. Like I think more people should have heard Building a Better Me.
Okay.
Switchfoot's The Legend of Chin.
Classic.
So I was 10 years old when this record came out in 97, and I immediately loved it at 10. I think the first song I heard was Underwater on a sampler, and then I got the CD, and I love every single song. I love the melancholy that's kind of present throughout the whole record. I love that there's, he's touching on apathy and attraction and depression, and I just think it's really good. But I was thinking about it because I also like New Way to Be Human quite a bit, and
Right.
Legend of Chin. I think the Legend of Chin is really unique and in my top 5 because I don't think it sounds like anything else. Like, I don't think anybody's made a record that
Yeah.
sounds like the Legend of Chin.
Honestly, not even Switchfoot really.
No, they evolved and they kind of went in all of these different directions, but
Mm-hmm.
there's just something really youthful and weird about it. And John,
Yeah.
I don't think had really even found his singing voice yet, so he still had the heavy dose of what I affectionately refer to as the kind of like Kermit voice that he had. Um,
I know what
a
you're
lot of
talking
my
about.
a
Yeah.
lot of my favorite vocalists kind of have unique
Mm-hmm.
sounds, and I think John still to this day has a unique voice. But especially, I think when he was younger, it was just unfettered and
Yeah.
raw.
Yeah.
It's hard to find a friend. Page of the Lion, which
Mm-hmm.
I think was released on Jade Tree. I love this record so much. I think it's one of the best like bedroom kind of indie rock records. It sounds lo-fi, but still sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Bazan was probably still identifying as a Christian at this moment, and
I
um,
believe so. I haven't. I need to like listen to the older Pedro the Lion stuff. I haven't fully gotten on the bandwagon yet. I've listened to his newer stuff, and I guess just haven't felt as enthusiastic about it as everyone else. But I haven't taken the time to listen to a lot of the older stuff, which I know a lot of people love. Um,
yeah, I mean, and it could just be that it was a time and a place, but I do think it's hard to find a friend is really special lyrically and the sound.
mm-hmm.
You can hear there's like I don't know if slowcore is the right term, but there's just this maybe a love of like Red House Painters and just some slower bands, and um, yeah, I just really like it. I think it's really good.
Nice.
There's a lot of others I want to talk about, but when I was thinking of my favorites, I mean Sufjan's Carrie and Lowell. Where are we at here?
Mm-hmm.
I think Carrie and Lowell is a friggin' acoustic masterpiece.
Yeah.
I think it's really, 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 really good. Um, I love the subject matter. I love him kind of like exploring his thoughts on death and losing of his mom, I believe. And
mm-hmm.
I love it sounds like, it kind of has that thing where, it was recorded in his apartment, but also in a nice studio,
Yeah.
which I think is really neat. And it's really hard to be captivating over an entire LP when you're just really playing guitar and banjo and maybe some piano. Like,
Mm.
that is not easy to do, and I just
Yeah,
think
that
it
takes
shows.
some effort to make that sound interesting and captivating.
Yeah.
I personally, Sufjan Stevens is another artist that a lot of people have told me that I need to listen to, and I just haven't taken that deep dive yet. So, but what I've heard, he's very talented for sure, and a lot of people love him. So, is that like one of his early albums? Like, when was that one put out?
2015, not
Okay,
an early one. He had already been kind of declared the savior of, I don't know what you call what he makes, like art, folk, in
sure,
in
yeah,
art indie pop, kind of spiritually sensitive, maximalist. That's the other reason
mm.
why I like Carrie and Lowell, because it's really stripped down, but a lot of Sufjan's music is heavily layered. Like he is,
Mm.
there's a lot going on. I
Sure.
would encourage you to listen, like even the first 3 songs on Carrie and Lowell. Try it and see. Turn it up,
I will.
light a candle when you're feeling introspective, and put it on. Um,
Okay. I'll make a
this
like a
this
hot bath.
yeah, maybe. I don't know if
Hot
it's a
bath
bath.
and light some
I don't know if it's a
candles.
bath. It's not a bath record, man.
Okay,
I
no
don't think it's a
bath.
bath record. Unless you're like gonna put a skull, like hold a skull and like contemplate your mortality in the bath.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, I'll have to get a
Okay,
skull
so
then.
Judy Sill.
Okay, I don't know this one.
So She released 2 full-length records before she died. She was, I could be getting this wrong, but the first person assigned to Asylum Records, which is David Geffen's record label before Geffen. And um, she has a really fascinating story that I would encourage anybody to dig into. But she lived a pretty rough life and, you know, had done everything from prostitution to like robbing banks. And this record, Heart Food, came out in 1973. And she, I believe, was raised Catholic, and I think she learned piano and organ, I want to say, at the Catholic school. So she kind of had this like theological framework or like foundation in her music.
Sure.
But she definitely, there's kind of a mysticism about her music in general. She layered her vocals a lot, kind of like Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys.
Nice.
And there's this classical music like element to what she released as well, like string arrangements and piano parts that just, you can tell she was a classically trained piano player, pianist. Anyways, this record I think is so good. Like, she is a musician, artist. Like, if, especially, I guarantee you, if you find somebody who, in particular women, I think, who are like songwriters, like true songwriters,
Sure,
who are students of the craft, and like, they probably, she's like a patron saint of those types of lady artists.
gotcha.
And this song, The Kiss, which is the second song, I don't even know if you guys can see this.
A little bit.
I think The Kiss is one of the best songs ever written. It makes me just want to cry talking about it. I think it's so gorgeous. It to me describes a spiritual experience with God. It's very mystical. I think it's beautiful. So anyways, I encourage people to listen to Judy Sill, and both of the records are really good. She has a song called Jesus Was a Crossmaker that's really good on the previous record that I encourage you to listen to. But anyways,
okay,
she's one of my all-time faves. So I don't think you'd call it Christian music, but
she's a
definitely
Christian who
spiritually
makes
sensitive.
music or whatever.
I don't know if you could have called her a Christian.
Okay. Only God knows, I guess.
Yeah. But this, hold on, I'm pulling it up here. When the bridegroom comes. When the bridegroom comes, such a good song.
Okay.
So good.
I'll definitely check it out. I'll get the full experience.
Do you like do you like the Beach Boys?
Yeah, I see, that's another artist that I do need to listen to more of. But what I've heard, I like. I really like the Beatles, and I know that both of those bands kind of had a lot of influence on each other, as they were kind of like both sort of friendly rivals with each other. What I've heard, I've definitely heard a lot of people tell me to listen to Pet Sounds, and I've heard a little bit of that album, but just haven't made that dive. But I like it. I like a lot of 70s, 60s, 70s rock, so I'm sure that I would like Beach Boys or and her music as well. So
yeah, she kind of has a like. Sometimes she sounds a little bit like a cowgirl. There's a little bit of Americana, like
nice
country in there. So if that's not your thing, then who knows? But
no, I love it.
You should put some headphones on and listen to the Beach Boys song "Surfs Up."
Surfs Up, yeah.
Surfs Up.
I'm pretty sure I know that one, but yeah, because I know that from what I've heard of Brian Wilson, he was very, very much attention to detail oriented, and how he just he got pretty experimental with their sound, and so I
Yeah. Oh
respect
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
Um,
He is weird.
yeah. So
Well, what else can we talk about before I got like 2 minutes here? I should probably head out and reattach with my family, but
well, I mean, I guess you can take these 2 minutes to I don't know, plug anything you want. I mean, I know you've talked about the new album, but just like where can people find you if there's any like shows that you want to plug or social media? Just I guess just have at it.
well, I mean, you can find me on Instagram. Bandcamp is a good place to kind of find all of music,
Mm-hmm.
and I do have this West Coast tour coming up with Taylor Armstrong, which is going to be fun. And so, if you're on the West Coast and you want to see us play at a house or a church, this is the tour to do so. That's in September. Um, yeah, and if you want to book me at your church or a house, write me. I I
Hmm.
I do fly out to play one-offs. It's just if it works for me financially, I do it. And
Sure.
I've just been saying yes to more of those types of shows where a church pays me from their budget and flies me out, and I play for their congregants, and we all high five, and then I fly home. So, um, if there
Nice.
are people out there, especially, I think church is a good place for it because usually there is a budget to bring in artists.
Yeah.
And I love that setup. It's good for me. I think it's good for the church too. I guess
Mm-hmm.
if they like my music. Um, yeah, that's it. I'm super thankful for anybody who's listening and taking the time to tell other people about the music.
Sure.
It really blesses me a lot. So
Yeah, and I think it's cool that you're doing church shows. I remember having a conversation not too long ago. I don't remember who it was, but we were just kind of reminiscing how like there used to be a time like in the early like scene days with like Tooth and Nail where like bands would play at churches all the time, and it kind of seemed like that was like dying out. Like churches weren't allowing bands and artists to come to their church anymore. So that's cool to know that that's starting to open up again. I mean, I know you're not like you're probably just doing like your solo shows, so maybe they're not like punk shows like they used to be, but I don't know. It's just something that makes me a little happy, you know.
yeah, yeah, me too.
So, so cool. Well, John, again, thanks so much for doing this. As a fan, this means a lot that you would be open to coming on this show twice in a row. I really appreciate you taking the time and being flexible with getting this together. It's been really awesome connecting with you and hearing your heart about stuff. And yeah, so just thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Clifford. I
Yeah,
appreciate you, man. Thanks for
absolutely.
encouraging me.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
I
Anytime.
look forward to seeing this when it's done, and um, you know, I love to hear your thoughts on the new records when they come out, and we'll connect
Absolutely.
again. Maybe
Yeah.
next year at Audio Feed.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we'll definitely, because something that I do at the end of my show is that we share like quick reviews of like new releases, and so whenever there's a John Van Deusen release, that's definitely going to make priority.
Cool.
So
Awesome.
yeah. All right. Thanks so much again to John. I feel like I'm thanking John a lot, especially since we've had 2 episodes talking with him. But I mean, honestly, if I could have multiple conversations with John, I would really enjoy it. And he's just a great guy to talk to. I I remember like beforehand feeling a little nervous about talking with him. Just I don't know why. Just kind of thought that like, because John is he's a very smart guy, intelligent, and also creative. And sometimes those kinds of people can just kind of give um, a bad vibe, like they don't want to talk to you, like they're too smart for you. But John is just such an easy guy to talk with, and he makes you feel really special. And he's a very humble guy. So glad I've had the opportunity to talk with him. And it's a real special honor. Just after I discovered him just like a few years ago, and don't know if I would have thought that I would ever be, that I would have two interviews with him. So, and I hope you guys got a lot out of that. I definitely can. I've been able to learn a lot from his conversations. So yeah. So if you guys haven't noticed, I'm the only one here right now because Josh actually had to go because his computer wasn't charging. Well, you guys heard it before we left for the interview, but yeah, his computer wasn't charging. So, I thought that like, oh, well, I'll just let you like go home and figure that out. But, honestly, if the battery's not even working or anything, then the computer's just not going to work at all, and we're not going to be able to do the episode. So, very sorry, Josh, that you had to go. I said that I would continue the episode on my own. But yeah, I guess this is why I got to start getting the new co-hosts on, which we should have some on for the next episode, hopefully, because the next episode is not going to be an interview episode. So I'm hoping to bring on some more people if we can, some people that have showed interest in being co-hosts. We had this long streak of interview episodes that I didn't want them to come on just to be able to be on for a little bit. I want to give the audience time to get to know them and for them to get used to the show. So we'll see how that goes. And speaking of having this long streak of interview episodes, like I said, we're going to be taking a break from that for at least one episode because my bad, because I was able to get a very special interview lined up for not this next episode, but the next episode. Was able to get in touch with someone very special that I think a lot of you are going to be very excited about, but I'm going to keep it a secret for now. I will announce who the guest is on the next episode, because I want to build up the hype. There might be some people who won't care so much, but like me, I guess the one hint that I'll give is that like 6-year-old me would like not believe me if I went back in time and said, you're going to have this person on your show on YouTube. Of course, first I would say is, what is YouTube? But I would say it's like a TV show. And I'm like, I have a TV show? Like, yeah, kinda. But you're going to interview so-and-so on it. And I'd be like, shut your mouth. So that's the only hint that I'll give. Some of you may already guess who it might be, but I'm super excited and just I'm still pinching myself that it even happened, but it was just kind of a spur of the moment thing and it happened. So yeah, I'm just super lucky right now. Like I shared a post like a little while ago. You guys probably saw on either social media or the community space on YouTube. But I just feel so lucky. Like, I know it's crazy the amount of opportunities I've had with, like, I know I'm not the biggest channel. By any stretch of the imagination. I mean, we're still trying to get to 500 subscribers, which I'm not saying that to complain or anything, but I'm thankful, so thankful for each and every one of you, because there are channels that will have a certain amount of subscribers, but like only a small percentage of them like interact with the show or like actually watch it. But I feel like I'm very blessed to have, even, no matter how small this community is, it feels like each and every one of you are supportive. And that just means a great deal to me. And it's the support you've given me, guys, has been paying off. I've been able to make these awesome connections with people, and bringing on these dream guests of mine. I mean, like, I've loved every guest that I've had on the show, but there are certain guests that I've been particularly excited about, as you guys can understand, because some of you guys who've been guests on the show are friends of mine and who watch this show, and I'm grateful for each and every one of them. But I have to say, being able to talk to people like Ronnie Martin from Joy Electric, Becoming the Archetype, Josh Porter from Showbread, John Van Deusen, it's just crazy to me. And it seems that almost with every guest that I get, it's like a dream come true for me. And you guys have been so supportive of all my other endeavors, my creative endeavors. My Newsboys and Deconstruction video has been doing super well lately. And so it's just really encouraging to me. And you guys have been supportive with the music, which, by the way, actually, that is an announcement that I should have made at the beginning, but I wasn't thinking about it because it's a new thing. But so I actually have a new song coming out very soon, and I need to announce it now because by the time the next episode is going to be out, it'll already be out. And I didn't think about that before I started recording the episode, but I was like, oh yeah, I guess I should promote that. But yeah, I have a brand new song coming out September 5th on a Thursday. And it's a song that features someone that you guys have seen on the show before, Corey from Saint of Pine Hills. He was gracious enough to feature on it. And Nick Gundy plays bass on it, and the bass sounds so incredible on it. And a bunch of other people that I was able to collaborate with. And it's the next single in what is going to be my next EP or album. It's probably, right now, it's like 8 tracks, so I guess that's an album. That's what I've got planned so far. I've not recorded all of them, but I finished this one, and I really wanted to get it finished and out there because I'm so excited about this song. It's called Feed My Lambs, and it's a very personal song for me. So I'm excited to get it out there. So September 5th, Sherwood Forest, by the way, for those of you who don't know, Sherwood Forest is my music. Feed My Lambs by Sherwood Forest, starring, Saint of Pine Hills. So I hope you guys like it. I'm really excited about it. And I'm really excited about the rest of the songs that I'm going to be working on too. So, that's that. All right. So let's, I guess it's going to be actually my humble opinion because no one else is going to be joining me on it, and that's okay. This is gonna probably be a shorter episode than was originally planned, but that's all right. So we've got some new music from Jonathan Allen Wright. I'm just going to say the names of it. We've got Run Lewis Run by Jonathan Allen Wright, sorry. Ready by Chase Tremaine. We Are Love by Sixpence None the Richer. Those are all singles, and we have the new album from Starflyer 59, Lust for Gold. So let's start off with the big one, the one that I'm sure that everyone's buzzing about. We'll start with the album, and we'll do the singles. So, Lust for Gold by Starflyer 59. I think I shared this when we talked about his first single that came out for this album. But I haven't had much of a strong history with Starflyer and with, Jason. It's basically Jason Martin plus other people. But I got to say, I haven't been a super fan of Starflyer 59. It's mostly because I still have a lot that I need to listen to. And this past summer, for my 30th birthday episode edition, I listened to a bunch of albums from 1994, and I listened to Silver. I think it's Silver from Starflyer 59. And I got to say that I was a little bit disappointed. It wasn't really my thing. And one of the things that's special about this album is that Starflyer, for a while, they started out with a more like shoegazy rock kind of sound. And that's what their 94 album was like, and a lot of their early albums. But they've been in like this middle period where it's been more alternative rock, and that's been the music that I've been more into from them. And I think that's why I was a little bit disappointed by the 1994 album, because I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know that that's what they used to sound like. But now I do, and now it seems that with this album, it's a return to that sound. And I gotta say, I was a little nervous. Nervous. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it because I'm not so attached to their early shoegaze rock, and with shoegaze, it takes a lot to get me, like into it. Which, by the way, his son, who is now doing the Rocky Valentines, is very much shoegazy rock. But I liked that. I liked what he did with it. So with shoegaze, you have to do a little bit something special to keep me hooked, because shoegaze can just kind of seem like it's just sound, So you have to do something a little extra to get me interested. And the Rocky Valentines did it. And I have to say that Lust for Gold has definitely done it this time. I mean, I knew from the first single, 909, that I felt like I was going to like this album because I wasn't bored at all with the sound. I really loved how his vocals just like popped out of the mix. That's one of the problems that I have with their early stuff, is that his voice just seems so distant. But this one is like close and personal. And I also love, it's not just atmospheric, grungy guitars, but there's also a good amount of synth in there that I really like. And it's a short album too. So it's like short but sweet. And and I do like the lyricism in it as well. I can sense there's a lot of heaviness in it. A lot of the songs explore very, sad themes and nostalgic themes. And there's even one song in there where it seems that Jason is kind of mourning the fact that a lot of people that he knows are falling away from the faith. And so I just have a lot of respect for that. But, you can kind of relate to the tiredness that he's feeling. And so it's kind of lethargic in that sense. And it's just uplifted by this great mix. I love the tone of everything, the guitar tones, and it's just a good mixture of atmospheric grunginess mixed with the I don't know what the term that I want is, but with like the synth over everything is just everything complements each other so well, and the songs are very memorable as well. That's another thing that can go wrong with a shoegaze album, is that everything sounds the same and you get a little bored. But I never felt that with Lust for Gold. So I'm sure this is going to be one of my favorites for this year. So I got to recommend Lust for Gold by Starflyer 59. All right, I guess we'll go to the next one that a lot of people are probably buzzing about. Not that the other two tracks aren't important, but Sixpence None the Richer was a pretty big band. So we're going to talk about We Are Love. I thought, so this is the second single that they've released, and We Are Love, I think, is okay. It's not really wowing me. So their last single, what was it called? None sleep right through the morning. On the other side. I can't remember what it's called, but I remember how it goes. But that track was very memorable and very catchy too. So I'm very excited for a new music from Sixpence, and I'm glad that they're back. But I have to say that this song just doesn't really do a whole lot for me. Oh yeah, The Tide, that's what it's called. Which I guess I don't know if that's going to be included in the album, because it seems more like a Lee Nash and Sixpence None the Richer collaboration. I don't know. But I like that song more. And this song is fine. I guess my problem with it is that the chorus is very kind of cliche. Kind of, because the song is called We Are Love, and you can just imagine what the song is about. It's not really saying much. Like, I liked the verses, but it seemed like they were leading up to something, and then the chorus comes and it's like, we are love, and it's like, just kind of reminds me of like, it's one of the things that I kind of have gotten tired of with Switchfoot. It's like, it seems that almost every album has to have a song about love, and which is fine, but I need something a little bit more tangible than that. That's like says something more. And so yeah, this song, it's fine. It's not bad. It's mixed well for the most part, but it's not as memorable to me. But I don't know. Maybe you guys will like it. I think it's fine. I like the other single better. We'll see what else they come up with. Because I think it's going to be a whole album. I'm not sure. But yeah. So check it out if you like. It's not bad at all. But I'm kind of wanting for a little bit more. And that's We Are Love by Sixpence None the Richer.
We are love. We can make it.
All right. Next up. Sorry, I don't know if anyone has noticed a lot, but for some reason my video kind of does seem to freeze a bit. I don't know why, but I'm sorry. I'm poor. Okay, so next up we got Ready by Chase Tremaine, good old friend Chase Tremaine, which, I got to be clear. I know Chase. He's a friend of mine. And so there's a little bit of a bias. But I think this track is really good. It's going to be part of this album that he's releasing. That's all based off. That's all written for his 1-year-old daughter, which is very sweet. And this song is just it's a rockin' jam, basically about how they're ready for anything, and how much their daughter has changed their lives for he and his wife, and how how much encouragement that has brought him. And so it's just a very positive. And there's something that he said on, I think he either said it on the JFH podcast or his Clubcast podcast. But I appreciate how he's like, yeah, there just seems to be a lot of negativity surrounding like being a parent these days. How, there's this big push in society today of people, not wanting kids or not having kids. And so him writing about he it seems that he wants to bring back the positivity about that, about the miracle of being a father, and raising a family. And so I have a ton of respect for that. And so and Ready is just a good jam, and I'm excited for the rest of the album. So check out Ready by Chase Tremaine. It's Chase Tremaine.
We're ready for anything. We're ready for everything.
And next up, last but not least, we have a new song from Jonathan Allen Wright, who I believe I've talked about on the show, on My Humble Opinion, before. Jonathan Allen Wright is a multi-talented guy. I discovered him on YouTube. So if you guys like my stuff, I think you'll really like his stuff. I've shared his channel before. And recently these last few singles that he's come out are all going to be a part of this album. And so he's got like, I think what was it? A Patreon? I mean, I shared it. I should know. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's like some sort of Patreon that he's got set up so that you guys can support him. So yeah, he's not only does he make great content on YouTube, but he also is a fantastic songwriter and singer. I've really enjoyed his last few singles that he's put out, and now he's got this new single that is about C.S. Lewis. And I'm pretty sure the whole premise of this album that he's working on is about different people of the faith. Because, before he had a song about Zacchaeus and, what was the C about? I forgot who the C was about. I think it might have been Peter. But this one is about C.S. Lewis. And as a big C.S. Lewis fan myself, I grew up a fan of the Chronicles of Narnia. And as an adult, I've become more of a fan of his nonfiction work, his apologetic works. And he's just kind of a hero of mine. So I, of course, was very excited when he released this. Let me just share what he shared on social media. Said, this song is about C.S. Lewis. I use each of his names, including the name Jack, which, by the way, I appreciate that. You are a true C.S. Lewis fan. Like, only true C.S. Lewis fans know that he didn't like his name Clive. And so his whole life, he insisted on everyone calling him Jack. So yeah, I use each of his names, including the name Jack, that his close friends called him. He had a dog when he was younger named Jack that died. And because of how much he loved it, he took on the nickname. I mean, yeah, that is a reason. But yeah, he just really did not like his name Clive. I mean, who would? Honestly. That seemed to be a pattern. He'd have a lot of tragedies. He'd have a lot of tragedies in his life, moving away from a home he loved, losing his wife. Not to mention he lost his both of his parents. His mom died of cancer, I think. I'm not even sure, but his mom died at a very young age. But ultimately would take those things to fuel something good. In his book, Surprised by Joy, it's evident that he gives credit to his relationship with God for joy showing up when you don't expect it. This song is talking about those things, and ultimately ends discussing him finding comfort and an outlet for those things to be processed. Very good. I approve of that. But yeah, it's a fantastic song. Jonathan has a knack for just making really catchy acoustic indie rock tunes, and I love how it's mixed. And I have to say, shout out to Spencer Ennis, who actually has been mixing my stuff. He um, mixed and mastered Disentangle, and he also mixed and mastered Feed My Lambs, which will be out soon. So a little biased, but I really like the way that that everything is mixed. I love the guitars. Just something about the guitar strumming is very rhythmic, and it kind of I kind of felt, this is kind of a weird comparison, but some people he might understand. But sorry, it it reminds me of Coldplay and their song Magic. I love the acoustic guitar in that song that just kind of comes in at the end and just brings this driving force to it. And that's, I hear a lot of that in this song, and a lot of it in the and Call Me Down, which is another great single. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this song. So I recommend you guys check it out, and I recommend you guys go support him so that he can make this album. So that is my suggestion to you. But yeah, check out Run Lewis Run by Jonathan Allen Wright.
Come on, Jack, it's worth the fight. Don't you have
All right. Well, that's that for my humble opinion. Again, maybe shorter episode ish. Because when I bring on other co-hosts, I expect it to be longer. Because we like to talk about things. So, but that's okay. Nick couldn't be here, and Josh obviously had his issues. And if I could schedule another recording session, I would. But we literally record these 2 days before the episode's going to be out, so there's really not a whole lot of time to do that, unfortunately. So, but yeah, prayers to Josh so that he can get that all figured out. Trying to figure out if there's anything else. Okay, so up next, I'm pretty sure this is what I want to talk about. Again, we're taking a break from interviews. We're going to do a normal episode, but something else that we're going to be bringing back is some controversy. So it's probably going to be a spicy episode. Just a little preview of what we're most likely going to be talking about. There's been this so I think we're going to talk about two things, and I'm going to try to find a way to tie them together, which I don't think will be too hard. But so Skillet came out with a new single. They moved to be independent. They are no longer with their record label, and they released this new song called Unpopular, and it's garnered a lot of different reactions from people. For some reason, my thing is that I've always not liked Skillet, but now it seems like with this song, for some reason, people really aren't liking Skillet. I mean, it's been back and forth. People who really love it, people who really hate it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about this song, and we're going to talk about why people hate Skillet so much and why people hate John Cooper and such. And I think I'm going to bring some unique perspective to it. And what we're also going to be talking about, what I'd like to talk about, is Aaron Stone from My Epic made some interesting statements in a recent interview that he did on the Black Sheep podcast that was very surprising to me. And I think it's kind of like the opposite of what John Cooper has been saying. And so we're going to bring those two subjects together and try to, bring a unique perspective into it. So, and I'm intrigued about this upcoming episode, because we're going to see who's going to be on the show and, who's going to be willing to talk about this. So yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, and then after that, of course, will be the surprise guest. So definitely check out the next episode to hear that announcement of who it's going to be. I'm also working. I've started work on the Front Porch Step documentary. So just going through footage of that, and so that's pretty exciting. That's the only update that I got for you guys right now. So, all right. Well, I guess that's that for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks again to shout out to John Van Deusen. Go check out John Van Deusen's music. And yeah, just thank you guys for all the love and support. And you guys are the best. So I'll see you guys in the next episode with whoever joins me. And you guys have a great week. Talk to you later. Bye.
Hey, this is Stephen Christian from Amberlin. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like. And also feel free to subscribe to I'm Clifford Today. For those of you listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave a rating and a review. Also be sure to check out Clifford's Clips and Highlights channel. I'm Clifford Today. If you want to hear more from Clifford, check out his other podcast, Podwood Forecast. And there's always t-shirts and other merch you can buy, so be sure to take a look at that. There are links to everything in the episode description, so thanks for stopping by. And remember, he's Clifford Today, and you're not.